All right, good morning, everyone, on this Monday, day after Derby weekend. Hope you guys are doing well. I am wave meteorologist Brian Good. On this Mondays, we are obviously going to cover what is going to take place next couple of days. I think everyone's highly aware of this potential. It's the details that certainly do matter with this type of setup because we have multiple systems impacting the area. When you get that kind of a messy traffic jam that starts to develop, with our storm chances, it does throw off a lot of timing and certainly when it comes to impacts that we could see as we hit the next couple of days. So I'm just going to say right out of the gates, as you guys are getting your notifications right now on the Wave Weather app and on the news app as well, to log in. You're going to have a lot of questions about, obviously your area, what time, what impacts, is this going to be like this date and could we see up rates to this level and so forth? I get that. All those questions, they always come up in these scenarios. And I'm going to hopefully answer all of those in what I'm about to present to you. So what I ask is a favor from you all as I go along here is I'm going to explain as much as I possibly can to get you all the way through the outlooks. And if I haven't answered anything at that point, then please make sure to chime in. And I'll try to answer that. And you guys that are in the chat right now, I see a lot of you. You were from Hope, Karen, Angela. Hello, Wendy. We got Joy as well. So if you can help me out as folks get into the chat and they start asking some of those questions, if you can just help them out and reminding them that I will get there. I will be answering here shortly. So when you guys help each other out, that really helps me out at the same time. All right. And again, your comments will be on social media. You can't really comment, obviously, if you're watching on a Fire Stick or an Apple TV or on Roku. There's no option for that. We hope there will one day will be based on how the remotes are set up for that. But unfortunately, it's mainly limited to social media like Facebook and Twitter and so forth. All right, so let's get right into it. And I'll start my rambling, or at least stop my rambling, I should say. We'll begin with the current setup outside. We had a decent amount of rain and thunder last night. Saw a lot of your comments about that. As it was a good soaking rain. It's cloudy. Now we have more rain about to move in. Louisville picked up a good half inch of rain. That's been a fairly easy number to go with. There's about a half inch in many spots. It was convective, so there will be pockets where you get a bit more of a higher total than other areas. Wind got up barely over, but up there around 40 miles per hour at one point when they did pass through. Into the metro and the MSD gauges coming in roughly at about 3/4 of an inch in some areas not far from Churchill Downs. 0.83 Valley Station. Meanwhile, you get toward Fern Creek, at least the southeast corner there, Fern Creek, heading toward, say, Broad Run Park there, about 1/4 of an inch of rain did fall. All right, here's the radar view, and we do have more rain moving in now. It's raining back into Valley Station, PRP, Bullitt County, as far as Brooks exit all the way to Cox's Creek. You've got rain, more of a steady rain in E-Town. If you look carefully, too, you can actually see the spin. This is a little area of low pressure. It's moving right across West Kentucky, right there, right across Breckenridge County. And that spin of the low is going to move right over Louisville here in the next hour or two. So showers on the increase. This is nothing severe that we're talking about. We are cloudy. We're overcast. It's just a humid setup. So more downpours and a few lightning strikes are certainly possible. After this drifts on by, there is a chance we could get a few sun breaks and we could get a few more thunderstorms that may try to form later today. I can't rule out one or two getting strong, but as far as severe weather, we're missing a lot. We're missing a lot today. So we shouldn't have to worry as much about that as what we've had to do in the past. Okay. So later on, the big story today is going to be what's happening in the plains. It's quiet now, but this dry line that's moving in is going to really fire up some big time thunderstorms. And for the first time this year and the first time in a while, we have a high risk from the Storm Prediction Center. It was issued about 30 minutes ago for southern Kansas into Oklahoma. And notice the marginal does extend all the way to Illinois. And that's because there's going to be a lot of supercell action. You're going to get a very long line of severe weather with damaging winds, hail, and tornadoes back into the plains as we head into later on this evening. That line will fade as it heads toward Illinois, but could still make it into wave country. This outlook ends at 8 o'clock in the morning for tomorrow. So that's where the outlook stops, because at that point, the storms will be on the other side of that. So we stop at that outlook and move it to tomorrow's outlook, which will then put us into the severe risk for this wave as it moves in. Not in particular that wave out of Illinois, but part of that will be the equation. Will we see this change to a different category? It's possible as we head into Tuesday afternoon. Why would that be the case? Well, mainly for hail. That's where we're getting the hatched area on hail for tomorrow afternoon and evening. Significant hail is showing up in the area. That would allow for an upgrade to at least enhanced if that trend does continue. And it would be the probability that would change that, not so much the hatch. So it'd have to go from, 15%? It would have to go to 30%. That's when they move the category up to another level. It's possible, but hail and obviously some damaging winds will be more of an issue as we head into tomorrow afternoon. I'm going to walk you through all that, I promise. Then we get to Wednesday's outlook. This is what everyone's talking about. This is the enhanced risk that we're talking about that is out for the area. We've been through this already, a couple times this year. And I know you're going to ask if there's going to be an upgrade or not. We'll take a closer look at that coming up. But it does look like it's going to be a significant event for the Ohio River Valley, all the way down into areas of the Ozarks. The CSU map, which started to put us into a higher potential and severe weather for this a week ago, continues to aim on our area for that same outlook. That has not changed today. Let me take this full screen so you guys can see that. It still has the over 60%. Now it's about 66.669, which is going to be basically about a 67% risk of severe weather. That's fairly high to have that potential. And this is for basically within a given point, your population in that area where you got the dark purple, more than 60% chance you're going to experience some type of severe weather. That's pretty high, right? So, and the hatched area indicates it would be significant. So that again aims right into the core of wave country. The black dot is the max point, or the center point, if you will, where the severe risk looks to be maximized. And that's been bouncing around between Evansville, Bowling Green, and even at times, even in Louisville. So either way, it's our area. It's everyone. It's all of our friends and family here watching in wave country. We're all in the same boat on this. You see the Storm Prediction Center on the right-hand side has that hatched area, as I showed you guys, already in place, and it nearly matches what CSU has got for the region. So there's no shocker on that one there. All right, let me get you back to the full maps here, and then me explain. Now, what we're going to do, that's the outlooks that we're looking at from the Storm Prediction Center and the Colorado State AI Learning Module. So I think it's a given. A few strong storms today. Severe risk is around tomorrow. Low end around lunch. Another round into Tuesday evening. The big daddy is going to be Wednesday, certainly Wednesday night. All right. That's the main event. And then we're done. Then we can relax and enjoy hanging out with mom for the upcoming weekend. Okay. So how do we get through all this mess? This is where I'm going to try to walk you through all the different models here as we head through the next couple of days. And so pay attention to the timestamps located in the banner in the top left. Know where you're at on the map. This is a two-state. I'll get into a lower or a more focused view into wave country here in just a second. But this is a wider view because I want to give you guys a wider view first to show you the storyline, and then we'll get a little more narrowed in. Fair enough? All right. So this is today. Again, the red area is storm fuel. You get into the golds, that is where the storm fuel goes up. All right. You notice this afternoon, we have some fuel across Kentucky. We have some red. All right. But we don't have the gold. The gold is down across areas of Tennessee back into Missouri. So that's why we're not concerned about severe weather this afternoon. But given the idea we have some fuel around, we can't rule out, like we had this morning, a gust of 40 miles per hour in a few cases, maybe some small hail. That is certainly possible later today. It depends really on how this little low moving in now over us, how that scoots to the east this afternoon, if we get any pockets of heating for the afternoon. So it's a conditional issue even on that alone. All right, we get into later on tonight, keep an eye on Columbia, Missouri. That is where we're going to see the line that will begin to approach later on tonight. This is your severe line. This will be ongoing while you're asleep, but this will be ongoing out of our area to the west. When you wake up tomorrow morning, Tawana more than likely is going to be talking about this line of severe weather that will be fading across portions there of Illinois. She may still have warnings to talk about in that area. Could even be some watches in Illinois, and perhaps West Kentucky may be under some type of a watch still as that line moves in. But it will start to fade somewhat anyway as we head toward the late morning, midday hours. I say somewhat because it does slow down enough that it could try to regain some intensity as it moves back into the Ohio Valley. That is possible, but an overall weakening trend is more likely. There will be a few pop-up storms. See how this fuel is angled to a northwest to southeast fashion. That is a warm front that will be in the area. This will try to also fire up, and it will likely try to fire up in reaction to the fading line of storms moving in from Illinois. It will try to develop a line, an angled diagonal line of thunderstorms as early as lunch tomorrow. So there's two different ways we can get storms out of this tomorrow. Will be the fading line moving in, especially across Indiana, and new development that may try to form in the line there along the warm front. All right, we get into tomorrow afternoon. You don't really see the line anymore. That's pretty much gone, but we're certainly into the gold, right? So we've got the fuel ready to go here. I do think any of the cells that form as we head into Tuesday afternoon would have more of a hail threat than anything. There could be an isolated tornado. It is possible tomorrow afternoon and damage winds, but the coverage is going to be a bit limited. But in general, with it being a boundary and a front in the area, Indiana, Ohio, parts of Tennessee, but certainly Kentucky will indeed be the focal point for any warnings that can get issued tomorrow afternoon. And again, we could start with this as early as lunch tomorrow. We may have a few storms that will form. Otherwise, they would form a little later. I'll show you a closer view on this in a second and make a little more sense. All right. Then we get into what will happen for Wednesday. And this is going to be a little wild. All right. So Wednesday, early showers and storms. It's hard to see the clouds, and apologize. I love showing the fuel. So I always have it really bright, but that's just my preference on that. You can see we've got clouds around southern Kentucky right there. It looks like the severe gold there, but there's actually quite a bit of cloud cover. Some models want to really keep this still active, by the way, into southern Kentucky and Tennessee. Well, that would be a good thing. That would be a good thing if it's active there. That would help in blocking what is our biggest moisture source we have in severe weather, and why our region faces severe weather the way it does is because we are directly north of the Gulf of Mexico to the south. And that flow comes right up I-65. If we have rain and thunder that is laid out across anywhere along that path, but certainly across Tennessee, it acts as a sort of a barrier to try to hold off on some of that wild moisture coming in, that tropical moisture from coming in, and tries to block it. Now, not all the models have this shield, if you will. Some have it just being a few clouds, and that's it. Clouds are okay. It would help somewhat, but we really need an active radar. We need bands of heavier rain here that would help block. This particular model does not have the heavier rain. It has some cloud cover, but not the heavier rain. So what does it do? Well, when the next low pressure moves in, and this is going to be a very compact low with a warm front moving through the area, cold front, very elongated. We are in the, I used to always draw the American flag. Do you guys remember that? The boxed area of the American flag. Well, we are going to be in that warm sector. We're going to be in that zone, that box zone, as we head into Wednesday. And we will likely be the highlight as far as severe risk for the event of the entire United States will be our area. as we head into Wednesday afternoon. So a lot of people are going to be looking at us. Yes, I know this obviously is going to mean a lot of national attention, and it probably will be just because of that potential there. We get into Wednesday afternoon. We're into the 80s. That's key. Any hint of sun? This is one of those days. Sun is bad. Sun's bad on Wednesday. We don't want any sun. Chances are we're going to get at least a little. We could start to get a few thunderstorms. Remember, I said there's a warm front here. Then you got the low, and then you have the cold front. There is a chance a few thunderstorms could try to develop on the warm front. And yes, it would not take much for those to go to severe fairly quick Wednesday afternoon. Now we get into 4 o'clock. Again, this is just one model's idea. You see how active we're getting now. At this point, we've got supercells that are starting to form, and we have some bowing segments for straight line wind, and a tremendous amount of heavy rain and lightning taking place. This, again, is going to be a tropical setup. We get into the afternoon. Now you're seeing multiple lines moving through the Ohio Valley right into wave country, including Louisville, with bowing segments, which, again, you don't have a lot of a supercell look here. A lot of these cells, if they're going to be supercells, and they likely will be embedded into the line, which is the most common way we get tornadoes in our area, is this way, where they're embedded in lines. We don't often get tornadoes in supercells like we've had on March 2nd, 2012, April 2nd recently. We don't get that too often. I think one or two of those could be found, yes, in this environment. It's certainly a volatile environment to allow that. But this environment really does scream more of an idea they will be stuck into a line. Well, that's a problem. That's a problem. Because at that point, we have to rely heavily on radar data to pick them out. And this is where it gets very challenging, because we may have several spots anywhere from Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, even parts of Missouri, where we're going to have a line and clusters of lines of thunderstorms all across the area. And there will be just pockets here and there where there will be some spinning going on. And that's going to be a challenge to sniff that out. So everyone's going to be busy. They're going to have a lot of eyes on the radar for that. Weather Service, I'm sure, is going to have a ton of eyes on this, and probably some help from other Weather Service offices to pick those out, because they are very difficult to do that, but they're the most common. But it's not the only threat, all right? To be clear, everyone goes straight to tornadoes. I understand that. But you got to keep in mind a straight line damaging wind threat is also on the table. And I'm talking about wind gusts of 75 miles per hour, or perhaps even higher, that can develop in straight line winds. To me, while tornadoes get a lot of attention, and I get because of the way they physically look in appearance, they are alarming. All right. But in this case, straight line winds will also take place over multiple counties. You're going to have a line of storms with a very high wind threat. These tend to cause more problems and damage and power outages than we do with even a tornado setup. So there will be segments here where the high wind threat, straight line general winds, needs to be watched carefully on this. Timing is what I know, most concerned about here. And this model likes the afternoon hours and evening for Wednesday. Several of the models are fairly good agreement on that idea. Some are a little later on this, closer to midnight, before things really get going. That will become clear on timing. It's Monday. It doesn't surprise me we don't have a locked-in idea on Wednesday if it's Monday, right? That makes sense. So this is going to keep changing. What I'm trying to tell you is that why Wednesday stands out more than, say, Tuesday is because the environment is more volatile and you have multiple threats, and each one of those threats can be significant in their own way. Okay, those storms will continue to dive south. Overall, as long as we get this to move in here quickly and get out, the severe threat will be cut off and ended. North to south, we'll be able to clear out counties and communities as we evolve. All right, let me show you another closer view. This is going to be for today. This is the HER model. This is just now updating. You see there's not much action happening this afternoon. I can't, again, rule out one or two isolated storms. We're quiet tonight into early tomorrow. Here comes the line of storms that moves in from Illinois tomorrow morning. It tries to hold on to at least a severe threat into Illinois all the way through about the midday show tomorrow. So it's possible I could be on midday and we're talking about severe weather. It's possible. Once that passes by, though, then we get these supercells that form. These will be small supercells that will develop. This is where I think we have there will be a tornado threat with these tomorrow afternoon, but there will also be a large hail threat. I think the hail threat is going to be higher tomorrow than what it will be for Wednesday. In my opinion, That's the way it looks to me. Like tomorrow's wind or hail threat's going to stand out. So if you have a garage tomorrow after an evening, park your car in there, and let's hope we don't get the reality of that. But that's the way it's looking. Those cells move on by. Even tried to, which is interesting that the herd keeps doing this, trying to develop it more along a line with the actual front moving in. That would be a mix of damaging winds and an isolated tornado threat for tomorrow evening that will then sweep in across the region. The model that I just showed you, the more of the two-state area, the Ohio Valley, that's one of our in-house models. It did not have this. It generally kept everything spotty and a few thunderstorms around. It did not try to form a line with it. So again, the models are still struggling on how that will evolve, but they do at least allow for an active radar tomorrow. And again, looking at the parameters I've seen so far, hail is leading the way. All right, that moves on by. We calm things down. Briefly, we'll see what happens if they do form and settle into Tennessee and whether or not a shield will indeed develop for the area. Here's one of the soundings that I got. This is from the NAM model for the area. It's hard to see it, but it gives a PDS tornado potential on this for Wednesday. So that's the reason why, again, this is going to be potentially a significant event on anything that forms the sounding, especially this is looking at moisture levels. Again, this is where we are standing as people. This is up here where basically planes are flying. Red is temperature, green is moisture. And there is a dry pocket. We call this the elevated mixed layer that is above us. This is a good indicator of damaging winds that you can get in the area and even large hail for sure. So that's something we'll be watching, but this is not and even look at the hodograph, which is a whole other blog video to do on. But basically all the data that we're looking at, there's a lot of numbers here. There's a lot of numbers. And this is a model sounding. So we actually will get physical soundings from weather balloons that will be launched. I'm sure they're going to be launching several sites. Louisville does not launch weather balloons. Wilmington, Ohio does, and Nashville does. Those are the two closest to us. They launch in the morning and again in the afternoon. Given the severe threat, they likely will launch a mid-afternoon balloon, which is not normal, but in severe cases, they will do that. And what that does, while I know that's in Ohio and that's Tennessee, it does, at least in the mid to upper layers of the atmosphere, will be very similar. And that will give us more accurate data because we have a weather balloon in the sky able to give us data on how things are trending. So right now we got model soundings, but actual soundings, once we get those tomorrow and Wednesday, will be a bigger help on that idea. All right, just want to at least show you that we've got a lot of data that we're pouring over. So here's the general summary. I still think overall it is, Carson had this updated yesterday. I still think it's the case of 3 rounds. Midday on Tuesday, Tuesday afternoon, evening, and then Wednesday evening. Those are the 3 time periods you need to pay attention to the weather. Have a way to be notified. Wave Weather app, it's free, guys. Totally free. You can customize it any way you would like. You can get your lightning alerts, which lightning is instant. As soon as you see the bolt outside your house, I guarantee you the phone's going to go off. That way it alerts you. And why is that important? Well, maybe you're not near to the window to see the lightning. You may be in a different room and you get that notification. You're fully aware there's a storm probably real close to you because it goes by your location. All right. Not everyone gets a lightning notification. Only you do in your particular area if the storm is nearby. Heavy rain, same signal. Again, this is helpful, especially if it's been quiet in the afternoon and you're doing laundry and the phone goes off with lightning and heavy rain alerts. That is your cue. You need to go and see what's going on because that means storms are getting closer. Obviously, there's warnings too for tornado and severity that you have on there, but I highly encourage you to use that. All right, so that is the overall summary. Yes, thank you, Justin. Hey, Justin, how are you doing? Well, yes, we also have the data coming in from planes, which is really nice. UPS, we don't have it here. Justin, I think, gets it being with UPS. We do not get data, though, from the planes unless it's shared to us from NOAA. And they usually do. The Louisville Weather Service office is great when doing that. But as the planes take off and land, they also give us data. It's very similar to what weather balloons do. So it's kind of our pseudo weather balloon that we're lucky enough to have from aviation help on that. And we get that all the time. So that's nice. But it will be a big factor too tomorrow. So thank you, Justin, for mentioning that because that is big, especially in the wintertime. It's crucial, right? Okay, so where do we stand on the alerts? Because you guys are going to ask me this, and I'm about to get your questions, I promise, because there's a lot of you here. There's a high risk in Oklahoma, and you're like, oh, man, does that mean we're going to get a high risk here? I don't know that. I know it's going to be active. A moderate risk, Fair. So I looked at the values. Let me bring this up. I looked at and said, okay, when's the last time we had a high risk anywhere within wave country or the Weather Service view forecast office area? And it was actually November 17th, 2013. Obviously, the moderate risk, you guys remember that. That was April 2nd this year. What about that high risk on the 17th in 2013? Well, that was actually centered a little north. It was mainly Indiana. They had the severe risk. There were several tornadoes that did take place, especially in southern Kentucky, back in Illinois, all across Illinois and Indiana. We didn't have really too many into wave country, though. They kind of avoided us in that sense. We're kind of all wrapped around the edges of the high risk. But that was the last official high risk for any part of our area, was November 17th, 2013. But what about Louisville specifically? Well, Louisville specifically did not have a high risk. We have not had one since March 2nd, 2012, more than 4,400 days ago. Obviously, the moderate there, April 2nd, that high risk for that day was right over us. That's when we had, obviously, the big day of the severe weather. Okay, so I know you guys were going to ask that question, so I went ahead and looked that data up, got that out of the way now so that I don't have to deal with those questions. All right, because I'm not saying those levels are coming here. I'm just letting you guys know when's the last time we had it. That way, if we start talking about it, that's in the back of your mind. All right, let's go with questions. Let's see. Yeah, D, I know about the bus drivers in schools. I know that's going to be a question that's going to come up. Right now, other than the threat tomorrow, which right now looks to be more of a health threat, not a dangerous tornado outbreak scenario. I'm not seeing that for during school time. Really, for either day, I do not see that. The most dangerous weather for really both events will likely be post-school time periods that will take place. So as long as that timing holds, that's the way it's looking there. But that's not, we don't control what the schools do, obviously, but I know that's on our minds. We have families here, right? So we have kids in the area that are in schools here. So we are obviously watching that too. So it's personal for us as well. Let's see. I'm gonna look at the most recent questions because again, a lot of you probably asked if I already answered a long time ago. Audrey, what will happen as soon as I finish this video, if you're watching on Facebook, which looks like you are, as soon as I'm done with the video, you can hit play and it'll play it back and you can just skip along to wherever you want to. But when I'm done, Facebook will automatically allow you to view the entire video, which is really nice. But right now you're watching it live. So if you want to see the whole thing, you can rewatch it there and skip along if you want. Danny, is Wednesday a similar looking setup that we had back in April? You know, that's a good question. I can't really fully recall the setup that we had in April as far as the fronts and placement exactly. That was what was a little different, though, in that one. Really, April 2nd had a lot of similarities to March 2nd of 2012, where we had severe weather early in the day. If you guys remember, we were right out of the gate with severe weather and tornadoes that touched down in Nelson County very early in the day. Kevin, Tawana, and myself were here on that one. And we really couldn't leave because we got right back in severe weather again. And then in Louisville, and the Prospect tornado was roughly into the 5 o'clock hour that afternoon. And that was very similar again to March 2nd being an afternoon period of storms. So this one's a little different. I don't see morning storms on Monday or Wednesday, excuse me. I see it as just Wednesday evening. So it's just one particular round, but it doesn't really matter. Every different storm has different characteristics and personalities, just like people do. They don't always look exactly the same. They may seem like it because of the threat levels and the categories from the Storm Prediction Center. And to be honest with you, really after maybe once a day, we may discuss those outlooks, but we're getting to that phase where we're not going to be paying attention to the outlooks. We're going to be more concerned about watches and warnings and how the futurecast is evolving on the finer details at that point. So we'll be evolving in our thought process the next couple of days because those outlooks are great to have, but they're more important and more valuable to you guys days in advance. Day of and such is not as significant. All right. I think I answered it, but I'm not really sure. What will the dew points be? And Cape. All right, Angie, you guys are asking that. I could bring up that sound. It is really, really hard to see, though, to be honest with you. But I'll bring it up. Dew points are likely going to be very close to 70 degrees. This model has got, I can't even read it because I'm half blind here. I think it's like in the upper 60s on this particular sounding for the afternoon on Wednesday. But it's got an average of about 70, 71 for a dew point. So again, very tropical air. That's another good point on this is we could see some big time issues when it comes to very heavy rain and flooding there. The Cape is running about 2,500 to, I would say, a little more. If we get any sun on Wednesday, we're going to go to about 4,000 probably on instability on Cape, which is quite high around here. It's strong instability and not quite to extreme instability, but getting to strong. And again, with such a tropical setup in multiple rounds, rain totals altogether. I mean, my house has seen over 3 inches of rain in the past 7 days. And so I'm my yard is completely saturated at the moment. I might as well just have the whole backyard be a pond. We will get into multiple rounds in the next few days. I think rain totals of about 1 to 3 will be common. Some spots could get 4-inch total. It's not out of the question. So yes, there could be some flooding issues with that because the high amounts of moisture we'll have in the area. Toby, I love the Star Wars outfit for Derby. How's the weather on Saturday? I'm about to get into the weekend. Thanks, Toby. Appreciate that. I'm about to get into the weekend. I'll end on that here in just a second. Mitchell with us at PDS Wednesday. I don't know. The soundings are showing that, but again, these are model-generated soundings. For what it's worth, I do think it's going to be up there as a significant event. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not trying to scare you guys. I'm not saying, oh, it doesn't look that bad. We'll be fine. Don't worry. When the data is telling me, oh, it may be quite significant and could cause some big-time issues with damage in the area and put people's lives at risk. Okay, well, I'm going to tell you guys, that's my job. That potential is certainly there. And I'm doing that not to scare you. I'm doing that to make sure that you guys are aware, you're paying extra attention, you're changing maybe your habits in your day to keep checking back in the forecast, you're making plans, keep an eye on where you need to go in case a warning's issued, a safe spot to get into in your home, knowing if you have evening plans for dinner, maybe keep in mind you may have to alter those if storms and there's active weather on the radar. If you live in a mobile home, be thinking, already call your friend now and say, hey, there could be some really nasty stuff coming our way. Can I come hang out with you at this time of day? We can watch movies or something. I don't know. Until the storms get closer. It's to help you guys adjust whatever you need to do and be aware. And we'll do the worrying for you guys. I promise we're doing it. We're not going to sleep. We'll do the worrying for you guys, and we'll just constantly keep you updated. And there is some best potential in these events because you're dealing with one moving through and then another one moving through and then another one moving through. And if one of them is off track or ends up producing a lot more rain than expected or a lot of cloud cover than expected, well, then that just messes up the second one. And then that messes up the third one. It's like a cause and effect. That is what we love about meteorology. It's just what the chaos theory is all about. And that's the reason why it can never be exact. But right now, the best potential is not as high as we would like it to be. Therefore, that puts us in a little more in the risk for a significant weather. Okay, so hope that helps. I got to get ready. I got a spammer here. Oh, don't click on that. Let's see. I don't have the ability to block them. Why is that? Why is that? All right, well, don't pay attention to yeah. Don't pay attention. Okay. Mitchell, will there be a cap? Not really. No, not really much of a cap. There will be a natural lid at night that will happen on the atmosphere, which is going to recede tonight into early tomorrow. But overall, not as much of a cap that we would like. No. Those spammers sure do love you, right? They do. They do. They're trying to make money off of dangerous weather, and that is not right. That is not right. Okay. Ben, is that indicating a possible widespread tornado outbreak? I don't know if I would say widespread, but a Ohio Valley regional tornado outbreak, yes. The data indeed does show that. Wednesday's weather looks very disrespectful. It does. It does. It does. Sheila, strong tornadoes or spin-up threat? Good question. The setup for tomorrow, I think, will involve a few tornadoes that could develop. Again, it's not a tornado outbreak set up tomorrow. It's more of a hail threat tomorrow. So I'm not as overly concerned on that as I am on hail and damage and wind downburst potential. For Wednesday, they will be embedded, which does reduce a bit of their intensity. But if you can get a supercell that can dominate the line or break free from the line, or any cell that pops ahead of the line, you can indeed get strong tornadoes that can develop out of that. So this is a little more. I'm hoping you guys are getting that from not only just the outlooks, but I'm hoping you guys are getting from even our tone that this is a bit more of an elevated risk, right? A little more of a higher potential to get some damaging weather in the Ohio Valley. And that's the reason why we're going to be talking about it a lot. It's kind of been kicked up a notch. Cody, can you show the numerical outputs, the different models compare? I can, unfortunately. I'm not probably going to get a lot of data that is updating because we're in that phase of between, we're getting the midday where we call 12Z data. So it's going to be a bit glitched. Let me see if I can bring up something for you, though. I may only be able to bring up right now, at least the HER data. And this is what Cody is talking about. And this is just, again, data that we can look at in numerical form of the maps that you guys did see just moments ago. It's a lot of data, so it takes a second to load in, so bear with me on that. All right, so there it goes. The numbers start to populate. And you can see, okay, let's take a look here. There's your CAPE that is showing up on the right-hand side for tomorrow, over 2,000. Again, it doesn't see Wednesday's system entirely yet, so just FYI. We're not there yet. Supercell potential for tomorrow is up there, up to about a 7. That's fairly high. The potential for a significant tornado is a 1. That is, elevated. It's a 1, but it's higher. Some of the numbers on Wednesday that I saw in other modeling is closer to 7. But for tomorrow, it's about a 1. So I'm not, again, concerned overly on tornadoes, but that much CAPE, it's going to be a hail threat and damaging winds that will come into play, and some heavy rain. I mean, it's indicating we could get about an inch of rain out of this in some pockets, especially here into Louisville. You see the dew point showing up in the 70s. My pen's doing that. There you go, 70s as we get into tomorrow. I'll try to get more model data like that for you, Cody, but right now that's about the best I can do on showing that. So I hope that helps somewhat. All right. What is PDS? PDS, tornado, means particularly dangerous situation. You're going to hear that probably a lot in some of the data, but when they issue a watch, if they feel that's going to be the case, they'll put that wording in there. Again, I am not a big fan on a lot of the outlooks and that terminology once you get to the day of and get into severe weather. I don't think any of that matters because it only gets updated about every 6 hours, and I don't think that is something you need to worry about. It gets attention on social media, and we'll mention it. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's anything that you guys need to be focused on. We will relay what that will mean in a more realistic sense of the radar and impacts on watches and warnings at that point. Sorry, I'm about to lose my voice, so I'm trying to hang on. I lost it for a while for right when Derby was ending, and I think you realize when you're on the air for Derby events, you have so many people around you, and it's so loud, you're screaming the whole time you're talking. So our voices have a very narrow limit to it. All right, real quick, because I've been on for a while, and I got a lot to do. I want to show you guys. I don't know why I'm crying. I got choked up, and so I'm emotional. So, yeah, I'm just crying here on a Monday. All right, here we go with the Euro model. This gets all naughty. Whoop, wait a minute. What happened there? All right, there we go for Mother's Day weekend. Why didn't I stop this? I apologize. This front moves out. There is a pocket of showers that try to drop down for Mother's Day weekend. Right now, this looks to be more of an issue on Saturday than Sunday. It does cool us down into the 40s. I know some of you are asking, are we going to get a frost threat out of this? Well, some parts of the Ohio Valley may. I don't see that happening here right now. I think we're going to be above that level. But there's no doubt that you will not need the AC this weekend and even for parts of early next week. This is a chilly pocket of air that moves in. So no 80s for a while and 40s for maybe 1, maybe 2 nights, especially Mother's Day morning. If you're going to church services with your mom on Sunday, it will be chilly. So keep that in mind. And then we get into next week, and then we're back to maybe some rain and thunder, but we'll worry about that at a later date. All right, guys, I'm going to run. I got things to catch up on for midday. I appreciate you guys watching. All right, I hope you guys understand all of this enough to just to kind of keep an eye on it. and stay close to the changes in the weather forecast, because we're going to get more data today and tomorrow. But no doubt, again, it's going to be a midday tomorrow, Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday afternoon, and evening. Those are the 3 periods I want you guys to focus on. All right. We'll be watching it. I'll have more coming up on midday at 11 o'clock here this morning. You guys are great. Stay safe. Stay out of trouble. Don't get arrested. And I'll see you guys on the flip side.